Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the 2025 Mississippi Restoration Summit. I'm Chris Wells, Executive Director of the Mississippi Department of Environmental Quality, and we appreciate your interest in our program today. Jumping right in, the purpose of the summit is twofold, really. It's to provide an opportunity for us to give you updates on our restoration activities, but also to provide you an opportunity to give us feedback on a number of topics, including restoration priorities and how we might best reach you with information going forward. I always like to start with a recap of the funding that MDEQ is responsible for managing. Those are the three restoration funds that came out of the Deepwater Horizon litigation. These numbers reflected on this screen are the total amounts obligated under each funding stream, or to be received under each funding stream by Mississippi. The asterisk denotes that under the Restore Act civil penalties, Bucket 2 funding is competitive, and we're not guaranteed any specific amount of money. These numbers reflect or include the amount that's currently been obligated under Bucket 2, plus other amounts guaranteed under Restore Act. The Restore Act is the civil penalties that were assessed against the responsible parties. This funding stream is broken down into 5 buckets. I referred to Bucket 2 earlier. Bucket 2 is managed by the Restore Council and is referred to as the council selected component, and I'll talk about that in more detail later. But this is the amount that's currently been obligated under the Restore Act, and it's primarily for ecological and economic restoration projects. Contrast that with the criminal fines rather that went into the Gulf Environmental Benefit Fund that is managed by the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation as trustee. We are the consulting agency for NFWIF on projects to be funded in Mississippi, and those projects have to be ecological. And the natural resource damages, which are funds that were intended to compensate the state for damages to the natural resources that resulted from the oil spill. Again, these are primarily for ecological projects, and this is the amount that's currently been obligated under the NRDA funding stream. This slide shows you, gives you an idea anyway of kind of the breakdown between economic restoration and ecological restoration projects that have been funded. You'll notice that 69% currently of the projects that have been completed or are underway are ecological in nature, with about 31% being economic. Again, the Restore Act recognized that not only the environment was directly impacted and greatly affected by the oil spill, but also the economies of the Gulf Coast states. And so the Restore Act allows us flexibility to do projects designed to help the economy of the coast recover, including things such as tourism promotion, workforce development, infrastructure, and others. Having reached the milestone of 15 years since the spill, we wanted to highlight for you this year the coordination and collaboration between the various agencies involved in our program, and we've put together a short video, and we hope that you'll appreciate it.
Obviously, April 20th of 2010 was one of the dark days in our state's history. I was so very concerned about how it was going to affect people's lives, because our entire economy of the Gulf Coast is dependent upon what happens at sea. Everything from fishing, our way of life, all the way to shipbuilding and everything in between.
And we see oil coming across the slicks across the Gulf and then showing up with tar balls on our beaches. That's our way of life. And when you know that that's what's coming, I think that's the part that was so just gut-wrenching for us, because we knew this is going to be a long-term impact, something that's going to hurt us for quite a while. Not just our economy, just our way of life.
Since the Deepwater Horizon oil spill 15 years ago, the Mississippi coast has undergone remarkable restoration. The state has strategically invested Restore Act funds in rebuilding and enhancing infrastructure, developing a skilled workforce, and supporting key industries like seafood and technology. These efforts have led to unprecedented economic growth, higher wages, and improved educational outcomes.
What we saw during the oil spill, and that is just real resilience and real effort and desire by our people to help themselves and help each other.
Governor Reeves believes it has been the state's resilience that has led to significant economic growth, including $17 billion in new capital projects by 2025. He campaigned on a push for strong workforce development opportunities for Mississippians. Today, those opportunities are transforming lives. There has been a 40% increase in per capita income in the state.
When you talk about the Restore Act and particularly the resources that we're investing, you've got to have infrastructure in place to attract economic development. You've got to have a workforce that can do the jobs of the next 50 years. And when you look at where we've really tried to steer these resources, it's been investing in ourselves, investing in our infrastructure, investing in our people, because every dollar we spend on workforce development, as an example, is going to be brought back 3 and 4 and 5-fold, because it's our people that are going to benefit from these jobs that pay better wages. And so it's really been a process. We've been disciplined, and I think we can look back on 50 years from now and be proud of what we've built on the Mississippi Gulf Coast.
So what I can tell you is the grit, the resiliency, the can-do attitude, the positive spirit of the people of Mississippi is what really makes the difference. There's a lot of things you can say about money and resources, but if you don't have the leadership at the local level and just the spirit of optimism that Mississippi carries forward, you can't be successful. And that's one of the things at the state level that we sell today. When people talk about Mississippi, we can tell that story about our grit and our resilience, and that it really is about the people of Mississippi that make us the most successful. Last year, we had over 45 million visitors come to the state of Mississippi and generate over $17 billion in economic impact for the state. Hundreds of thousands of jobs in Mississippi are attributed to tourism. So to the extent that we can create these great new amenities and provide this great experience for visitors when they come here, the better we perform overall economically. But it also creates a quality of life feature that companies demand when they look to permanently locate and attract workers. So it's a dual benefit. And today our tourism industry has never been stronger and more resilient. And in fact, I think in part of the reason why we were the fastest to recover after COVID in the United States for our tourism and hotel business is because we've been through this before and we were able to quickly recover. So thanks to the Restore program, I know our tourism industry is a lot better off.
It's been very important for me from the very beginning that we not be perceived as making ivory tower decisions from Jackson that affect the folks that live, work, and recreate on the coast. That's been one of our mantras, is we want to make happen the vision of the folks on the coast.
Over the past 15 years, all restoration projects have been tailored specifically to address coastal concerns and challenges.
And one of the first things we wanted to be sure came across was, yes, the DEQ was responsible for the funds. The majority of our staff are in Jackson, but it wasn't our disaster. It was the state's disaster, it was the coast disaster. So really out of the gate, it was, what does the coast need? What we heard immediately was that people were interested in water quality improvement. They were interested in land conservation and habitat management for habitat improvement. And then also they were interested in the restoration of living marine resources. So those were the 3 main themes we heard. So that's been really the backbone of the program from an ecological perspective. Consistently through the years, we've heard the same 3 priorities for the ecology. And we hear consistently from the governor and development authority, for example, of the needs that are there for workforce and industry partners. So we hear the same consistent message, but we're always asking for updated information. One of our goals is to improve water quality in the Sound, and we know the impacts from that can come from failing wastewater systems, septic systems, undersized lift stations, those sorts of things. And so it's a win-win. We can go into some of these areas where they've identified problems that are impacting the sound, whether we find it through beach advisory data or they find it through their own reporting. We can use these funds to help them fix the problems that are there while improving water quality and helping the wastewater system as well. So it accomplishes both. It helps improve and restore us from the spill, but it also helps these utility authorities, cities, counties be able to improve their aging infrastructure as well.
So this is a water quality project. We call it a coastal headwaters project. So we're looking to conserve the upper headwaters of the Wolf River, and it'll be a little over 24 miles that will be within this 14,000 acres that will be in conservation. As the water flows downriver, this water flows in the Mississippi Sound. So this, being able to put in conservation, we can reduce nutrients that flow into the river from different agricultural purposes. Also, we can manage the timber on the property. So it'll be done through Mississippi State University, who are actually taking title to the property. So they're going to be conserving it on behalf of the state.
The state of Mississippi is using a bottom-up approach to purchase land for conservation to alleviate any public concern that the state is acquiring land without local input or purpose.
When we came into this, one of the things that we wanted to do was make sure our local level had a voice, because sometimes what we saw, we would say, well, the state's going to purchase this, and they were the last ones to find out. And so we've tried to kind of change that from a bottom up. We want you to work with us on this. So if there is a county or a city that says, hey, this tract has some economic development possibilities, maybe we can tap the brakes here. But this piece over here, maybe that's the direction in which we go. And I think you got to value the economic development component. But just as important to me also is that conservation piece. People need to understand that you're actually investing in land that you're going to be using. You've helped invest in that. You've helped build the recreation area and the playground for South Mississippi because you've turned your dollars into conservation.
So for the average person that doesn't understand, if you like to eat seafood and you like to fish, Restore is really helping you a lot, because what it's doing, it's restoring the estuary to where it was. It's getting the water quality to where it needs to be, and we're being able to raise the fish, the oysters, the shrimp, the crabs, the things that you would love to eat. DMR's mission is to enhance, protect, and conserve the natural resources of the Gulf of America and all the coastlines of Mississippi. That's our goal. That's the number one thing to do. And to do that, you have to be able to restore the marshlands, the islands, the areas, and also you have to be able to enhance. And by going in and building new areas for fish to grow, for oysters to grow, for other crabs, and you have to be able to do that. And then you have to protect what's there.
We have a large-scale ecosystem restoration project coming in Jackson County. That'll be the first cross-border restoration project in partnership with the state of Alabama through the Restore Act. We put a lot of investment into the Grand Bay Near to date for land acquisition, habitat management. This project will then restore the original barrier headland of that marsh complex. The intention is to restore that headland so that it protects that whole Grand Bay Marsh complex behind it. And this fall, we will have completed the last remaining 2 miles of shoreline, and that total miles of shoreline is protecting the largest contiguous marsh in Mississippi. The Hancock County Marsh Preserve is vitally important for our estuary, for our seafood, for recreational fishing, for habitat for all sorts of animals. We also constructed 46 acres of marsh that had been lost and a 46-acre oyster reef. That preserve was losing about 6 feet a year in marsh. It was directly oiled by the spill. Our goal was that we would slow erosion. That's what our hope was. Our monitoring data now are showing on the constructed parts that we haven't just slowed erosion, but we've reversed it in a lot of areas. So we're starting to see accretion, or the buildup of marsh sediment behind it, is outperforming what we agreed to with BP. We all thought it would, but seeing it in practice it's just been amazing.
Restoration dollars have been invested in workforce development projects, providing training and education that open doors to higher paying jobs and new career opportunities for local residents. The the impact of these investments goes beyond the economy, touching individual lives and strengthening entire communities for years to come.
The Restore Act investments in workforce development are absolutely critical to the success of economic development along the Mississippi Gulf Coast, as well as the rest of Mississippi, because people don't necessarily stay where they're trained, they move. And so we know that workforce and talent attraction and maintaining talent in the state of Mississippi is absolutely vital for economic development success. And there's been many amazing programs that have come out of the Restore program at all levels to help from K through 12 through advanced education, higher ed, and also into entrepreneurship. So things like the Gulf Blue Accelerator Program and the Gulf Blue Navigator Program that help entrepreneurs get involved have all been recipients at some point along the way of these types of funds. So we really think that workforce development is the key to economic development in addition to product development, as we talked about earlier. So those are the twin pillars of success for economic development, and Restore's contributions to the workforce are absolutely immeasurable and valuable in this whole process.
The public may not be aware that funding for restoration projects is allocated in yearly installments from BP through the consent decree. This means that projects are planned and implemented based on the funds received each year.
So there's only a certain amount each year that's doled out. And so that's one reason that the program has lasted as long as it has and will continue, is because they won't stop making payments until 2031. A lot of people don't realize that or have forgotten it. But the point of that being that it took time for the money to flow. It took time for the groundwork to be laid, the foundation to be laid. And I think the program is at a point now in its maturity where we're starting to see real tangible results. What I would want people to know is that we have accomplished a lot. Whether they have been able to see it or touch it, it's there and it's starting to have impacts. And it just takes a while for the picture to come together.
From day one, MDEQ has taken a collaborative approach, coordinating closely with other state agencies to restore the coast. By doing so, Mississippi has successfully delivered large-scale, complex restoration projects, providing ecological and economic benefits to the coast.
The Restore Act and the consent decree and the plea agreement, DEQ was given a heavy responsibility to manage this restoration program on the coast. And we take that very seriously, and we're very proud of the work that we've done and the role that we play in being sort of the lead agency on Deepwater Horizon oil spill restoration. But we could not do it and do it successfully without our sister agencies, whether it's land acquisition and working with the Secretary of State's office and the other natural resource agencies, whether it's oyster restoration and working with DMR, who are the oyster experts. I think the way the restoration program has worked in Mississippi is a shining example of how good government should work. We're able to work with our sister agencies, coordinate efforts, and accomplish big picture goals, comprehensive type goals, in a way that otherwise we wouldn't be able to. We couldn't have asked for better relationships and better people to work with to accomplish some really important work.
I think a lot of times people get frustrated with government because they see silos. And too many times, I think, even in Mississippi and across the country, you see folks who say, well, look, this is DEQ silo, you stay over there. This is DMR, you stay in your lane. Secretary of State, you stay over there. I think for us, it's been fantastic to have leaders who understand, I don't care who gets the credit. What I care about is, are we doing right for the citizens of Mississippi? And so, when I look at Director Spraggins, when I look at other people around the state, we think about what is it that we could do together to drive forward for our citizens, for our grandchildren. And if we can do that and not care who gets the credit, I think that's one of the most important pieces that we can do.
We appreciate the opportunity to be able to have a group of people that we have in the state of Mississippi as Department of Environmental Quality, and how they work with us, how they're up front with us, how they talk to us before they do something. how we talk to each other. Chris Wells is a fantastic director, and he is upfront with me. He tells me what he's doing, and he asks me what I'm doing. So we have a front day to day. We're talking, and we're talking about what needs to be done and how to do it better. It's not about either one of us. It's about the state of Mississippi.
I think I would want the people of Mississippi to understand that. These aren't just folks that are engineers or scientists or doctors or whatever they may be. These are people who actually care, who are professionals who want to see the best for Mississippi because they live here every day, they see the impacts long range. How do we build this back even bigger and better than it was before? Because I know my children are going to get to experience this. That's the piece I would like for people to know behind the scenes that we see that they may not understand.
Collaboration is probably a better word in a lot of respects, because we do collaborate on what projects to do, the types of projects, but specific projects, and how best to fund those projects and how best to piece things together. Because, yeah, we're responsible for the Deepwater Horizon restoration funding, but DMR is responsible for managing the GOMESA funds. Secretary of State is responsible for managing Tidelands. MDA is responsible for the Gulf Restoration Fund, the economic damages. All of those work together. The projects that need to be done don't know or care what funding is being used to accomplish them. What's important is that the work get done, and if we can piece that together and work together and collaborate, starting with the governor's office, MDA, DMR, Secretary of State, other natural resource agencies like Wildlife, Fisheries and Parks, and Forestry Commission, we can work together and collaborate on what projects and how to accomplish them and how to best fund them.
I find myself saying this more and more often, but it's true. When we all work together, we all win. And that's one of the things that certainly those agencies that report to me, I can mandate that they work together. But everybody understands that that's the way we are best serving our people and best serving our constituents, is just do what's right. And if you're just there to do what's right and recognize that there will be plenty of credit to go around, a lot of people will get credit when good things happen. And really all of our partners have worked very closely together to do what's best for Mississippi.
Our hope going forward is that coastal leaders will develop transformational, innovative ideas for the region's future, and that state-level leaders will play a supportive role in helping those local visions succeed.
I think the vision for the Mississippi Gulf Coast is going to be defined by the people who live there. It's not going to happen in Jackson or anywhere else in the state. I believe that all politics is local, and I believe strongly in the concept of subsidiarity, where local people control their own destiny. I'm really excited to see what the leaders on the Gulf Coast come up with next, and I hope over the next few years while I'm in this role to be a big supporting cast member in whatever success they want.
I hope that in 15 years from now, when the settlement payments are complete, whether or not we're still working on the last few projects, I hope people are able to look back and see the body of work that came out of the restoration program and really see that it was intentional. There was a plan, there was coordination and collaboration, and that we really tried to make the best decisions for the coast and the state with the resources we were given.
You know, the oil spill was a tragedy that we hope never repeats itself. The economy and the ecology environment was decimated because of the oil spill. But for the oil spill, we wouldn't be having to do recovery and restoration work. If there's a silver lining, I think it's that we've been able to do some things that we might not otherwise have been. And we have said often that we want to, when this is all said and done, we hope that the coast is back bigger and better than it ever was before. And we certainly hope and believe that the investments that have been made will lead to that. 15 years from now, when we look back on all of that work will have been done, and I feel confident that we'll all be able to hear God's voice saying, "Well done, my good and faithful servant."
Well, we're going to continue to invest in setting up the coast for success for the next 50 years. And that's why investments in infrastructure, investments in workforce development and training are key for the Mississippi Gulf Coast to continue to be an economic driver for the entire state of Mississippi.
Next, we want to shift into some high-level program updates for each of the funding streams. With respect to the Restore Act, we wanted to highlight for you that the Restore Council funded priorities list number 4 will be soon released for public comment. I mentioned earlier that the Bucket 2 funding stream is a competitive bucket. It's referred to under the statute as the council selected component. The council is made up of the 5 Gulf Coast governors or their designees and 6 federal agencies. In order for a project to be funded under Bucket 2, the council has to vote to fund that project, and it's then included in a funded priorities list. FPL 4 includes 2 projects for the state of Mississippi, or that will benefit the state of Mississippi. One is the Grand Batour Island Restoration Project, which would be the first truly cross-border restoration project funded by the council. It will be a collaboration and coordination between the states of Mississippi and Alabama to restore the Grand Batour headland that once existed. It protects the Grand Bay and the Grand Bay Marsh Complex. The second project will be an increase in funding to the existing coastal nearshore habitat restoration program under Bucket 2 for Mississippi, and those funds are planned to be utilized for Barrier Island restoration at Cat Island. In terms of a NRDA update, those who have joined us for past summits will recall that we traditionally incorporate the Mississippi Trustee Implementation Group annual meeting into our summit. Due to circumstances beyond our control, we're unable to provide that annual meeting at the current time, but we plan to conduct the Mississippi TIG annual meeting at a later date. But we did want to provide you some updates more generally anyway. First of all, being that be on the lookout in early 2026 for the release of Draft Restoration Plan number 5, which we are diligently working on currently. And you see here that the restoration types that will be included in that Restoration Plan 5 are birds and nutrient reduction. We are also completing the final design and permitting of the St. Louis Bay Living Shoreline, and we'll be constructing the Jordan River Boardwalk. In terms of new project announcements, again, those of you who have joined us in the past will recall that we always like to, when we can, announce projects for the next annual funding cycle. This year we have 2 projects that we want to highlight that have been approved by the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation Board. One is, and both of these are continuations or phase 2's construction phase projects for which earlier funding was provided for engineering and design. One will be the West Hancock County Nearshore Habitat Restoration Project. It will be $14.9 million for construction of approximately 25 acres of reef habitat. And similarly, $5.7 million has been approved for the construction of a subtidal and emergent reefs and marsh habitat at Point Cadet in Biloxi. With respect to the Restore Act, the direct component and spill impact components, or what is commonly referred to as buckets 1 and 3, we will be soon developing the multi-year implementation plan, which is bucket 1, and the state expenditure plan, which is for bucket 3. Those are the lists of projects that will be selected by the governor to be funded under those 2 buckets. I mentioned that bucket 2 is competitive. Buckets 1 and 3 have specific allocations to the state of Mississippi, and each year the Governor's Gulf Coast Restoration Advisory Committee makes recommendations for projects to the governor, and he is in the process of reviewing those recommendations, and will be announcing the selection of projects to be funded in the very near future. As we close out today, we wanted to highlight for you a couple of celebrations, if you will. One is the completion of the Hancock County Marsh Living Shoreline Project. This has been one of our flagship projects from the very beginning of our program. The most recent phase of the project was the completion of some additional living shoreline, bringing the total of 8 miles of living shorelines that have been constructed to protect and enhance the 20,000-acre Hancock County Marsh complex. That is also coupled with a 46-acre beneficial use marsh reconstruction component and 46-acre oyster reef that were earlier constructed. We're also proud to announce that the completion of Beach Outfall Pilot Project number 1. Early in our program, we conducted a design challenge for design alternatives to the existing pipe outfalls along the beaches on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. One of those winning designs after the competition resulted in 3 winning designs, and one of those we refer to as BOP 1, Beach Outfall Pilot Project 1. It has been completed at the Courthouse Road outfall in Gulfport. That outfall drains about 346 acres between Highway 90 and Pass Road, and this project included the installation of a stormwater treatment unit that's capable of reducing 80% of the suspended solids and floatables, trash and so forth from stormwater runoff. And also there's a marsh that's been created that will provide water filtration and nutrient absorption through contact with vegetation. The idea behind this, of course, is to improve water quality from a stormwater standpoint. And lastly, today, we want to hear from you. As I said at the outset of today's webinar, we want to give you an opportunity to give us some feedback. We've established a list of polling questions you can access either by using the QR code on your screen, or you can go to www.menti.com and use the access code on the screen there, 6275-4307. And that polling will be left open for 10 days, and we hope that you will take the time to give us your feedback there. Thank you again for attending today's webinar. We appreciate your interest in our program, and we look forward to seeing you in the future.